Hello and welcome to the Pharmacy Informatics Professor 2020 with your host, Dr. Armin Simonian. We've talked in past episodes about clinical decision support, and we've covered some specifics about how to improve CDS in our systems. The pharmacy informaticist will have a great challenge, even in today's world, on improving the effectiveness of clinical decision support systems. So I found an article that's a few years old, but it was very interesting. And I'd like to talk about this article in this Journal Club episode and talk a little bit more specifically about clinical decision support systems and how to improve their effectiveness. So let me bring up my slide presentation and we'll get into a discussion of clinical decision support systems. So here's the article that was published in 2018. And what they did is they went back and searched the literature and found between the years 2007 to 2014 quite a few articles written on this topic. 156 full text articles, and they found 28 conference abstracts. So they reviewed all of these and they broke them down by types of CDS. So here we have drug-drug interaction checking. They found 78 articles on drug-drug interaction checking in that 7-year period. 20 articles on allergy checking. 55 articles on drug dose support, so dosage range checking. And then 11 articles on duplicate therapy checks. And then 20 articles on formulary support. So very interesting to me that they found so many references here, so many articles specifically on this topic. So it tells you that it's a really hot topic. It continues to be that way, and we're constantly thinking of ways to make our systems more effective and safer and improving CDS. A statement that they make here up front is the success of medication-related CDS depends on users finding the alerts valuable and acting on the information received. So we can have pop-ups, we can have different ways of alerting the clinician, but we really have to figure out what really works for that person that is prescribing at that moment or checking that order. So the prescriber, the pharmacist, sometimes the pharmacist is the prescriber, and making the alerts valuable so that action can be taken when that alert pops up. The key points from this article: number one, human factors principles are so important. So when you do have that pop-up, you have to really consider the readability of it. Is it too busy? Are there too many words there? Does it get to the point? Is it easy for the clinician to figure out what the warning's all about and what they're supposed to do? Is there an effective use of fonts and colors so that the eye catches the important information? These are all human factors engineering principles. The big problem with CDS that we know is alert fatigue. So if the alerts are very sensitive but not specific, you can get over alerted, and that leads to alert fatigue. And so that's probably our number one problem with clinical decision supports systems and their effectiveness. People just ignore the alerts and move on because it's not specific to their patient, or there's too many alerts and they just get tired of trying to read all of those and just want to enter the order. And then the last point that they make is that further research is needed to understand responses to CDS. As we just talked about, we need to figure out what's going to work better for those people who are sitting and prescribing that medication. So we've talked in the past about ways to improve clinical decision support systems, and improving alert specificity and sensitivity is always important for all domains. So we want to make sure that the computer is able to catch all the possible drug-drug interactions and allergies that the patient might have to medications, and do the cross-checking. And it has to be specific. It has to be sensitive to catch everything. It has to be very specific so that it's relating to that particular patient and it makes it relevant for the patient. So sensitivity, catching all of the warnings, specificity, making sure that it's really relevant to that situation, to that patient. It's important for all domains. We've talked about tiering. So with drug-drug interactions, you can have our knowledge bases rank them from contraindicated to major interactions to minor interactions. And you can decide as a pharmacy informaticist with your team who is going to see which warning at what level. And so for your prescribers up front, you might just show them all the contraindicated drug-drug interactions. And then at the time that the pharmacist is doing the review and verifying an order, then you can show the contraindicated and all the majors so that the pharmacist can make a judgment call on whether or not that pair of medications should be administered together. And then we've talked in the past specifically about allergy checking and cross-sensitivity. Drug dosage alerts. Now this is dosage range checking, and this has always been a huge challenge because as we know with different medications, depending on the disease state, depending on whether you're doing enoxaparin prophylaxis or a therapeutic dose, the dosing might be different, and it can also be based on age. It can be based on other issues with the patient, such as renal function. And so there are a lot of different parameters that come into play, and so it makes it very difficult to think of every possible situation and set up the proper dosing and have the computer check that. So very much a challenge, but definitely needs to be individualized so that it's relevant again to the patient and the clinician can act on it. And then duplicate warnings. So this has always been a challenge too. So, you know, with pain therapy, we might prescribe oral opiates or injectable opioids. And they might be in different doses based on the pain level, whether it's low or moderate or severe. And so you might have 3 PRN orders in place at the same time, and you do not want your computer system to put up a warning of duplicate therapy with the opioids. And so this is a very simple example of the problem that we have with this. Also with opioid therapy, you know, that we have a major side effect of constipation. And again, we have a lot of meds, GI meds that are given to combat the constipation. And so again, you might have a number of PRN orders. And if they're in the same drug class, you might get a warning of duplicate therapy. So these are the types of things that we need to consider. And a lot of times, these systems, these duplicate therapy checks have been turned off in EHRs because there's just too many checks going on. And the ones that are most important, a lot of times we'll just write expert rules to catch those. So great opportunity for improvement with duplicate therapy. And then with formulary, so you have your P&T approved formulary at your institution, and you want to make sure and enforce that through your drug database and computer system. And we have, again, an opportunity to improve the functionality with formulary compliance. So these are specific tips on improving CDS. And even though this article is a few years old, I will say that we still have these challenges, and there's a lot of opportunity for improvement overall for our clinical decision support systems. And probably the number one goal, or I'll say the top 2 goals, number one is making sure that when the warnings pop up, that they're really specific to our patient, and we're not getting warnings that are unimportant and do not apply. And then that leads into the second goal, which is decreasing or eliminating alert fatigue, making sure that the warnings are relevant and that the clinicians will read and follow those warnings and take action on it when it's important to do so. So I hope this discussion was helpful for you and interesting, and if so, please like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll thank you for that. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, look after the health of others. I'll continue to work on more episodes, and I hope to see you next time. Take care.